activate your mic. So green means active.
Chair, are you ready? Okay. Our meeting will be live in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. Welcome to the February 16th, 2026 Strategic Planning and External Relations Committee meeting. My name is Melanie Williams, and I am the chair of the Strategic Planning and External Relations Committee. The meeting format is hybrid. Quorum is physically present at the HART Administrative Office, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communication media technology. Please look at the screens of your devices. An image of the flag is displayed. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next agenda item is public comment. There was no one scheduled to speak. Is there anyone present for public comment this morning?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. With no one on the list to speak, we'll bypass the rules regarding that and conclude that part of the public input section of the meeting. Before we move on with the agenda, I am very happy to take a moment and welcome our new Chief Financial Officer, Shirley Shu Hurley. Raise your hand so people know where you are. Nice to meet you. And I want to talk a little bit about you. Shirley is a high-credential finance leader with 15-plus years leading fiscal strategy, capital allocation, and financial infrastructure in complex environments, partnering closely with CEOs, boards, and audit committees, and translating complex financial information into clear, actionable decisions. Most recently, she served as Vice President, Finance and Accounting at TrustBridge Global Foundation, where she led audit and compliance across a multi-entity structure, managed a $700 million investment portfolio, and strengthened internal controls and reporting reliability. She's also led enterprise planning and performance management in capital-intensive environments, including as Associate Director Controller in the Asset Management Division of China National Petroleum Corporation, where her work tied operational performance to financial outcomes and supported meaningful cost and efficiency gains. Shirley has a proven track record of modernizing finance systems and workflows to improve visibility, speed, and decision support, including real-time KPI dashboards and scalable reporting. And she brings a practical, cross-department approach to finding efficiencies that make it easier for teams to do their best work. That's awesome. Shirley holds an MBA in Entrepreneurial Management Consultancy from Durham University Business School in the UK and BS Financial Management and minor in law from Northeast Petroleum University. Please join us in giving Shirley a warm heart welcome. Thank you for joining the team. I'd like to give you a few moments if you want to speak.
Sure. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, board members, committee members, and my colleagues. And it's a privilege to take on this role. I'm so excited to serve with everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to approval of meeting minutes. In the packet are the meeting minutes from January 12th, 2026, Strategic Planning and External Relations Committee meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Staff, I don't think you need to take a vote, but record the approval. We'll move now to number 4, the committee action item with presentation. And next in this action item, Mr. Jesus Perez Garcia, Manager of Service Department. This is you're going to speak about recommend the HART Board of Directors authorize implementation of service changes for June 2026 resulting from the comprehensive operational analysis and public outreach activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Good morning, Chair Williams, committee members, and Mr. Drainville. My name is Jesus Perez Garcia, Manager of Service Development, and I will recap the service changes that we are asking your approval today. Okay. Here's the timeline of the COA process. Today, you're approving the service changes that you heard about last month. If approved, they would be implemented on June 7th. Here is a summary of the proposed service changes for which we're asking your approval today. We have 3 improvements. Increased frequency on Route 38 that serves Mango and Brandon area from hourly to every 30 minutes on weekdays. On-time performance improvements to routes 7 and 9, which currently are late 40% of the time and need an extra bus in order to solve that problem. And an extra morning trip on Route 360LX. We have 3 route removals, routes 24LX and 25LX, which are limited express routes from the Brandon East County area to MacDill Air Force Base and downtown, and Hartflex South County. These removals are due to their low productivity and high cost per ride, and those resources are being put into the improvements, which will gain a projected 200 new rides per day and provide benefits to over 1,900 rides per day. And we have the adjustments to the schedule of 2 routes, 7 and 46, removing the last trip in one direction due to extremely low ridership. If you choose to approve these changes today, we'll do a full marketing and outreach plan to inform the public of these changes with enough advance notice and provide education on the alternatives. With that, the action item for you today is to recommend the HART Board of Directors authorize implementation of service changes for June 2026 resulting from the Comprehensive Operational Analysis, or COA, and public outreach activities. With that, I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions. I'll put back up the summary slide, or let me know if you prefer to have the action item up on the screen.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
I have just one comment. Do you give this presentation in your sleep now? But no, very good presentation, and if there's no other questions, I'm prepared to make a motion whenever you're ready for one.
Thank you. Are there any questions online? We're prepared to move forward.
Okay, move to approve, moving forward, the recommendation on the implementation of service changes for June 2026 resulting from the COA and public outreach activities.
Second.
Thank you. A motion to approve by Mr. Schisler and second by Mr. King. Danielle, would you mind taking a roll, please? Excuse me, taking a vote, please.
Committeemember King? Voting yea.
Oh, yes, yes.
Committeemember Nieberg?
Yes.
Committeemember Schisler?
Yes.
Committee Chair Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to our presentations. The first is the 2027 through 2036 Transit Development Plan Major Update from Mr. Perez Garcia again. You're recognized to present. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning again, Chair Williams.
Turn your mic on. Your mic.
Thank you. Okay, good morning, Chair Williams, committee members, and Mr. Drainville. My name is Jesus Perez Garcia, Manager of Service Development, as you already know, and I will provide an introduction to the 2027 major update of the Transit Development Plan, or TDP. A TDP is a multi-year financial and operating plan for a transit agency. FDOT requires public transit providers receiving state funding to develop and adopt a TDP. Major updates are required every 5 years, with annual updates required during intermediate years. The major update we're working on right now is due in March of 2027, a year from now. Aside from being a requirement, the TDP is an opportunity for HART to work on our vision for transit service over the next 10 years. It is our opportunity to think big, looking at what are the needs of the community, what projects would best address those needs, and how do we prioritize those projects. Now, here are a lot of acronyms you might have heard about. How do they come together? You've been hearing about the COA over the past year, in case you don't remember. It involves short-term improvements and assumes no new funding. This COA sets the foundation for the TDP we're working on right now. But the TDP goes beyond that, laying out a 10-year vision that will guide HART on how and where to grow. It includes unfunded needs. So, for example, if new funding became available, what projects would we spend it on, and how should we prioritize those projects, resulting in a tangible list of transit needs over the next decade. And last but not least, there is the Long Range Transportation Plan, or LRTP, that is put together by the Hillsborough TPO. The TDP is the first 10 years of the transit component of the LRTP, which looks 25 years into the future. So the LRTP is a longer range than the TDP. Okay. These are the required components of a TDP. First, there needs to be a public involvement process that includes a plan explaining which activities will be conducted to gather public feedback on the needs and solutions. Coordination with the local MPO is paramount, partially because of how the TDP and the LRTP come together. HART and the Hillsborough TPO already do a great job at coordinating. As part of the operating context evaluation, we will conduct a review of other local planning documents to understand what they have laid out for the next 10 plus years to ensure we're all in sync. The land use and corridor development section looks at elements like density and development to help identify where in the county is transit the most needed and which areas are more ready for transit service. Lastly, the main piece of the TDP is the 10-year operating and capital program, which involves identifying and prioritizing projects as well as estimating costs and ridership and developing a financial plan. We will be starting the public involvement step of the TDP process in March. We will have a survey available online at a unique webpage, heartvisionplan.com, which will ask people to rank their needs in different categories, such as potential frequency increases, new routes, different types of service, and overall improvements to the rider experience. This feedback that we receive will help us create that list of priorities for transit needs that I mentioned earlier. We will also be hosting 10 different vision workshops across the county to dive deeper into the priorities and have brainstorms about ideas for the future. Additionally, we will be at our transit and transfer centers with staff to inform people about the survey and answer questions. Throughout the year, we will have other involvement activities taking place. We will be doing in-depth one-on-one interviews with key stakeholders and community leaders. We will have a review committee made up of transportation stakeholders that meets routinely, and we will be regularly getting feedback from our HART employees with their own workshops. For HART board members, we invite you to fill out the survey and inform your constituents and networks about this opportunity, and you can also attend any of the workshops. A special thanks to the Hillsborough TPO for their support to execute all of this outreach and marketing by providing us with a consultant. Here's the timeline and next steps. Last month, we selected WSP as our consultant to develop the TDP to build on the work they did with the COA. This month and next month, we're providing the HART board with an introduction to the process. The outreach effort will take place in March, kicking off on March 2nd. Then we will come back to the HART board in June to provide an update on what we heard during public outreach. And lastly, the TDP will come to the board in November for final approval and submission to FDOT District 7. With that, I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that overview, and thank you for helping read in the next several months' worth of effort. And if I tracked what you said correctly, starting in March, the outreach will begin, but then the final version of the TDP won't be presented till November of this year. Is this document something that we begin with last year's and we're doing a refinement, or does this major update start with a blank sheet of paper? And I'm just trying to wrap my head around the process where we're going to get input from all of the various entities that you described, and then to what are they providing input? Like, what are the guardrails around the things that you need to hear about so that we can refine the document in preparation for the November 26th acceptance?
Yeah, great question. The TDP is a live document, so we do annual updates every year. We did one just recently, and like this new major update's kind of building on that, but at the same time, it's a bit of a blank slate. So it's open for people to think big, go crazy, get creative. Guardrails, I think, funding on one side, but then there's also like the unfunded piece. So there is opportunity for getting creative, even though if it's not possible to fund anything in the short term. The outreach will kind of be that inputs portion of the process, and then we'll work on the document throughout the spring and the summer, and then we'll bring it back to the board in the fall.
Thank you.
Mr. King?
Thank you, Chair. Am I correct that the current TDP is currently available on the HART website for everyone to review?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Any online? Thank you. With no further questions,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Okay, number 5B, Route 1 pilot updates. The final presentation is Route 1 pilot updates from Ms. Heather Sobush, Director of Planning and Scheduling. Ms. Sobush, you are recognized to present.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Williams, committee members, and CEO Drainville. We just wanted to bring back to you some updates on our Route 1 pilot. If I can advance this. So just a reminder why we selected Route 1 to have frequency improvements. It serves downtown Tampa to the university area on Florida Avenue. It's already the highest ridership route in the HART system. It has a connection to the streetcar, and it's also our future BRT and streetcar corridor, and that's one of our TPO's transit priorities. It serves a large number of residents, about 32,000 and 56,000 jobs within a quarter mile of the route. Many people along this route are below the poverty line, have a disability, or are minorities. So the City of Tampa helps fund this one-year pilot. So it's from January 5th, 2025 to January 4th, 2026. And this was fare-free service, and it increased frequency from 20 minutes to 15 minutes on weekdays. So this is about a $1.65 million cost, and the majority of that cost was for the free fares. So one of the metrics we monitor is our on-time performance, and our on-time performance did increase. So on weekdays, it increased over 41%. Saturdays and Sundays also saw increases in the on-time performance. So we conducted a number of surveys with both riders and operators. So from the riders that responded, about 27% were new riders, which is something we were seeking to achieve. And then 30% of the existing riders said that they were able to ride the route more than they did previously. From an access standpoint, about 86% of the riders don't have a personal vehicle. And then over 81% plan to keep riding Route 1 even after the fares resumed. From the operator perspective, we had 31 operators that responded. They did report higher passenger loads, but they also reported same or improved on-time performance, which was very positive. From some of the open-ended responses, there was some issues with the free fares in terms of overcrowding, some more non-destination riders, and the such. So from a ridership perspective, what we wanted to look at was the overall corridor ridership. So Route 400, we did see some people transfer from Route 400, which has the same origins and destinations to the Route 1. However, the overall ridership in the corridor did grow. So that was a very positive impact. And then for 2026, the city has again provided some funding to maintain the existing 15-minute service on the weekdays, and then also to add 20-minute service on weekends and weekday evenings. And we are seeing a really positive impact in terms of ridership from the frequency improvements. This is just a graphic showing where the frequencies increased. So again, you see the 15 minutes maintained on the weekdays and then 20 minutes on weekends and evenings. So the next steps is that we are going to conduct 2 rider and operator surveys for the 2026 pilot. So we'll do one, I think, in April. And then we'll continue to monitor the ridership and overall performance. FDOT has a project in this corridor where they are improving some bus stops. So that would support the future bus rapid transit service in the corridor. And then in terms of the bus rapid transit service, we are refreshing the previous study just to update it and hopefully advance that through the capital investment program with FTA. And with that, happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Niebuhr? I'm sorry. Ms.
I don't have a question, but thank you for the information. It's good follow-up. I did have a comment, and that was basically that thank you to the marketing department and the outreach department, Mr. Frank. You guys did a great job, and this could have been a disaster rolling it back to start charging again. And I've heard nothing. I've heard no issues because we came back with the increased frequency. Frequency's king. So it's better than we left it. Okay, then we found it. So it's a significant improvement, and it could have been a PR nightmare if it hadn't been handled properly. You guys did a great job with that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. King?
Thank you, Chair. This project was exemplary in the way it was handled and the net results. My question would be, could this be used as a developmental tool for improving ridership in areas where there are opportunities for greater participation?
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely could implement similar pilots in other areas of the county and grow ridership through that.
My only comment to that is we just got to find the money to do it. We find money, we can increase our frequencies. That's why we want to increase our funding capabilities. And we need to start with us doing that. We need to start that now.
I have a question. Go ahead. I have a question regarding the number of operators required to meet on-time arrivals. Did we account for that when we increased the head count? I mean, increased the number of people we expected to ride the bus, and now that we have started to charge again, I think you said there was a 41% increase in on-time arrivals, but are we where we need to be, and do we need more operators for that specific route?
I'll let Jesus answer this.
Good morning. Yeah, so in terms of number of operators, we had some wiggle room when we implemented this pilot. So we were not more short than we were before because of the Route 1 pilot. In terms of on-time performance, the target is 77. This route is not quite there yet, but that's something we're actively working on.
Okay. Was that part of our, I don't remember talking about it, so I'm just speaking out loud here, is that when we built the plan, did we build the plan for the number of operators needed, or we just for the route, or did we just account for free fare for the route?
Well, so the city funded the hours, the extra hours needed to run the service, and the hours account for operators.
Okay.
So those operators we needed to run this service were quote unquote paid for by the City of Tampa funding.
Okay, so we need more operators. at this point. Just, we're almost there, but we just need a few more operators, is what I understand, to get to the 77%. I mean, it's a great route, so I'm just wondering if I want to make sure that one accounts for the number of people that have been using the route, and we continue to get those people on the bus for Route 1, and then we also make our on-time arrivals for that route.
Yeah, so the on-time performance, there's a lot of metrics that affect it. It's not just operator shortages, if any.
I getcha.
So we're looking at it from all perspectives, not just operator and vehicle availability.
Okay, so we'll look at, you have that, I understand at this point. We'll make up the gap. I'm just trying to understand, we got the number of people that we wanted to, and we're gonna use that as a prototype for maybe future opportunities in the event we get additional dollars, but we will also meet the improved experience, the 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and we did make a significant increase, 41% is significant, so we will incorporate the additional dollars that are needed, if it's not operators, whatever else is needed in order to meet the experience indicators.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To sort of segue from your, how and I think I'm on the same line of thinking, the investment that was made for this pilot covered the cost of the hours, which enabled the schedule that was done. And then the majority of that investment from last year subsidized what would have been fare collection,
Yeah.
which we believe indirectly contributed to an increase in the on-time performance of that route. There's many other factors that contributed to that 41% increase during the weekday, but we believe a significant part of that increase came from reducing the friction in the bus at collecting fares. Am I tracking you correctly on that? And for this next year, we've transitioned from free fares for Route 1 to increased frequency, bringing it down generally from 20 to 15 minutes, which we believe to be positive. And we're going to balance the funding on that by collecting fares. And there's 1.3 million versus the 1.6 million from last year that came in from the city of Tampa. Am I tracking correctly on that?
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's what I was hearing you ask. And somewhere in there, maybe at the third order, is a question of how much staff do we have to operate these routes? And that is a challenge. I know it's come up in other committee meetings, having the qualified and trained staff to do the frequency and the routes that we want. But those questions, although related, are independent of this Route 1 study that we're on now. Am I also correct in thinking of it that way, or is there a more direct causation there that I'm missing?
Yeah, so one of the limitations for this type of pilot is vehicle and operator availability. For the 2026 version, the city had a lot of creative ideas, and we told them we couldn't handle those because we don't have infinite buses and infinite operators. So it's not only the dollars for covering the hours, but it's also the physical bodies and vehicles that we
The
have.
recruitment and the training and the retention of the operators, the qualified operators, which is a constraint.
Yeah.
And if I may just close on a couple of things that I heard from your presentation. You said a 27% increase, I should say new riders. 27% of all riders last year under this pilot were new, and we presume them to be motivated to use the bus in part because of this pilot. The good news is that those with whom we have spoke stated they'll continue to ride even though they'll have to pay, which is positive and a credit to the transition from what used to be free to now is being paid. And then it was really, it did hit me hard when you said that route, if you evaluate the population a quarter mile either side, did you say 86% of that population, generally speaking, is disadvantaged in some way and or does not have a vehicle for their transportation needs?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and so to me, that's a very important statement. And then the next question that I had, and this is not, I'm not asking this question here. I know it would take research, and I'm not even asking for that research to be done, but what I've been trying to piece together in the context of several other discussions that we're having in HART is the percentage of the total population that is within a certain number of miles to these core routes. Like we know that within a quarter of a mile, 86% is transportation needy, and they need a bus system or they need some other solution because they don't have a vehicle of their own. And then if we were to expand, you know, the radius to 3 miles of all of our route structure throughout the entire county, it would be interesting to me to know how much of the county's population are we covering when we expand the distance to a bus stop. I guess there's a question in there, and I'm not prepared to ask it, but I'm just trying to gauge, you know, what percentage of the county, regardless of which part of the county, has pretty direct access to the bus system. And it is clear, based on how we've had to build it over the years, that some parts of the county have, you know, more direct access. And that's by design, and that's based on population density, that's based on a number of things. But it would be an interesting question, at least for me, to know what percentage of the total county population we do cover when we expand that radius from whatever we're using now to something reasonable but larger. And with that, I'll stop. But thank you very much.
If I may add on that, some of that information is, some of those questions are answered in our Title VI plan. The Title VI plan focuses on the service area, so it's 1.5 miles around local bus network. And the population of that service area is 1.1 million out of 1.5 in the county. Mile and a half is not a walkable distance, so we could look up half and quarter mile to be more reasonable in terms of walkability. But in terms of the service area, it's 1.1.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, because you're saying 1.1 million of the 1.5 million population in Hillsborough County reside within a 1.5 mile distance to an access point of the bus system. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Not to beat this horse too much further, but the COA, which was just completed, helped to verify a lot of that information, and a lot of it's the basis for some of the expansion that they're talking about, just limited by the financial constraints that we're under. But to the point of increasing the number of routes to which we could apply this, the biggest thing it's going to take is rolling stock. And we have to increase our rolling stock in order to do this. And it goes back to the funding increases that we talked about just to get to pre-COVID, not to mention trying to get to pre-Mission Max levels, which would take us, was it $80 million just to get us to, $40 million to get us to pre-COVID, $80 million plus to get us to pre-Mission Max. And only then could we even think about growing the system, which is the basic reason why we worked so hard last year towards expanding our tax base. And I know that that's you know, whenever they get done with their shenanigans up in Tallahassee, then we'll be able to deal with what needs to happen with that. But you know, that goes away. An awful lot goes away. There are no exemptions except for schools. This state will lose. I'm not getting into that, but this state will lose tremendous amount of capability. The library boards, the children's boards, transit, all goes away. So that's something that people have to recognize. So if we're going to, government is here to do for the people what they can't do themselves. Defense, transit's a big one. Okay, our fare box recovery is what, 12%, maybe on a good day.
10-ish.
Oh, 10-ish. Okay, so 10% isn't very much, and you can't expect them to pay that much. If they could do that, they wouldn't need us. So we need to keep that in mind as we progress through the year and the ultimate vote in November if anything comes out of Tallahassee. And I will leave that at that.
Thank you. Any more comments? Just
Thank
want to,
you.
thank you for the presentation, and this is, like others have said, it's great work that's been done with Route 1, and a good job for the community, and has definitely shown HART what could happen if we had the funding. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move to discussion item 6, Tico Line streetcar naming rights. Ms. Brenda Bailey, Director of Legal Services on the Tico Line streetcar naming rights. The corresponding documents are in the packet. You're recognized to present and lead the discussion. Ms. Bailey, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So at the last board meeting, Director Wastel moved that the status and the history of the Tico naming rights and potential value that might be open for this board be brought back for consideration, since this board had a duty to look at all revenue-generating options to decide if they wanted to pursue any avenues to potentially monetize the naming rights. Now, in order to respond to that request, it was best that we looked at several documents that spoke to contributions towards Tico, towards the streetcar, as well as the documents that spoke to the naming rights. The first document being the 1998 letter agreement from Tico, addressed to the city of Tampa mayor at the time, Dick Greco. In that letter, Tico made a commitment of $1 million to the endowment fund to support the operation and maintenance of the city of Tampa's proposed streetcar. But in that letter, Tico noted that they had the right, but not the obligation, to have its name or its affiliate's name on the streetcar system. The next document that you have attached in your packet is a 2001 tri-party agreement, and the parties to that agreement being City of Tampa, HART, as well as THS, the Tampa Historic Streetcar. And what's important to note in that agreement, you have Article 3, Section 3, which goes into the administrative structure of the project. And in that agreement, it says that the city and HART shall retain title to any real property rights and vehicles either provides for the project and used consistent with the funding. So the city was to maintain its rights with respects to its easements, and HART was to maintain its rights and ownership as it relates to our assets. Also in that agreement, it is noted that HART's contributions were mandated to be provided to THS for the operation of the streetcar. Also mandated THS be responsible for the operation, the management, and the maintenance of that streetcar system. In that agreement, it also specifies that THS had the right to contract out for an operator, and they did just that, but we'll get to that. Article 3, Section 2 goes into the rights and duties of the city of Tampa as well as HART. City had the right, the city was mandated to provide THS or the operator with any documents necessary to authorize THS to manage, operate, and maintain the streetcar. HART was mandated to provide THS with any documents necessary to authorize THS to manage, operate, maintain. The city and HART maintained the rights to approve THS's annual budgets, all agreements, as well as any party for the overall management, operation, and maintenance. The city and HART also were mandated to work cooperatively with using best efforts to obtain additional endowment contributions, operating revenues, and special assessment revenues to enhance operation funding. The next document that you have is the current operating agreement executed in 2023. And in that agreement specifically, it notes that THS contracted with HART to operate the streetcar system. And in that, we maintain all vehicles, perform inspections, maintain emergency response plan, et cetera. The next series of documents go into your naming rights. You have a July 16, 2002 letter agreement with Tico, also noted to be the sponsorship agreement, and that letter was from Tico to THS. And the purpose of that agreement was to clarify understanding regarding TICO's $1 million contribution in exchange for the permitted use to use the TICO name by THS. TICO gave permission for THS to conclude official registration of the mark TICO Line Streetcar System. And in consideration, TICO retained all the rights, title, and interest in the use of any name, in the use of the name TICO. TICO also agreed to enter into a license and naming agreement which granted THS the right to use that TICO name for the purpose of naming the line and would otherwise define rights, responsibilities of THS and TICO with respect to the use of that TICO name and logo. And in that agreement, it is noted that THS agreed and accepted to the terms. Another document that you have is a October 31st, 2009 assignment of trademark with TICO and THS. And in that agreement, THS, as the owner of the TICO Line Streetcar System, they trademarked, conveyed, transferred, assigned, delivered, and contributed all its rights, titled, and interests in and to the trademark to TICO. You have an October 31st, 2009 license agreement. And in that agreement, TICO and THS agreed that TICO would have the right to name the streetcar system in 2002. THS agreed to assign and transfer all of its rights, titles, and interests in the TICO Line trademark to TICO. THS granted the license to use the TICO Line trademark for goods, services, identification of streetcar system, and for the sale of T-shirts and other incidental souvenir items. And subsequently, and more recently, in February of last year, I took a call with President English, president of THS, as well as Jimmy Adcock of TICO. Board counsel was present, Jan McLean, as well as general counsel for TICO. And in that call, the CEO of TICO was very adamant and wanted us to be clear that the agreements in place, the license, the trademark, were held in perpetuity, that the naming rights owned by TICO from its original pledge for $1 million still stood, and they intended that since it is in perpetuity, it would continue even if the TICO streetcar line was expanded. So as you can see, based on this review of the documents, there are significant issues and obstacles that would be in place that would thwart any efforts by HART to monetize the naming rights. Specifically, there's an issue with respect to standing. HART has no standing to challenge or renegotiate the naming rights in this case. HART was not a party to any of the original agreements governing those rights and therefore, again, not in privity of contract with those parties. The naming rights were conveyed by THS to TICO, and any effort to change that would need to be initiated by THS. It's also important to note that this is not necessarily a revenue generator for HART, but I can't necessarily speak to finances, so I definitely have to turn that over if there are any questions to someone more capable to speak to revenue generating opportunities for HART. But that concludes the report in response to the motion that Wastel made. I'll definitely take any questions to clarify.
I'm sure you're gonna get questions, so I'll just go around the room. Director Schisler.
So we pretty much painted ourselves into a corner.
We did.
Thank you.
Absolutely did.
All right, so I take it from what you're saying, there is absolutely no provision to sunset this agreement.
No, and even if there was, it would have to be initiated by THS. I think it would definitely, based on the call that we had, I think it would be a significant fight.
Well, at what point do we want to disinvolve ourselves in this whole project?
I'm not quite sure. I understand the question. Which project, the naming rights?
Well, the whole, I mean, if basically we're locked into this deal in perpetuity and there's no further contribution from TICO on its part, at some point we have to say we're spending, throwing good money after bad, continuing to provide these services for which there's no revenue return.
Right. I think I'll defer that to CEO Drainville for any response if necessary.
So you're correct, and this is what and Ms. Bailey got into the weeds of this, and we find out we're not a party in this. So all the revenue generated would go to the city to maintain the streetcar. None of the revenue would go to HART.
No, I get that, but at what point can we decide we don't want to be involved in this any longer?
Oh, I guess we have to talk. I don't even. That's a great question.
It would have to be, we'd start with the tri-party, we'd have to pull out of
Yeah.
that. But, and then we'd have to figure out what we're gonna do with the assets, because
Right.
we own the assets.
Well, I guess my whole point is at some point, we have to be able to renegotiate this agreement with TECO so it's more equitable from HART's point of view. And I don't know, what juncture we can do that. Maybe our CEO can help us out with that one.
Well, yes, I guess we're gonna have to sit back and have meetings internally and see how we want to go in and present it to the board on what the board wants to do, and how much we want to invest into this fight.
Well, I may not necessarily have to be a fight, but maybe calmer heads will prevail and they'll realize that they can't just have permanent naming rights in perpetuity without some further input on their part.
I mean, these conversations I've had with Mayor Casta to see what she can do and help us in this quest, so I can reach out to her and see what.
I would think the city would be similarly aligned with where we're at, and perhaps.
And they are, I believe so, looking at more generating revenue to fund the streetcar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is a little bit shocking to me that for $1 million and $200,000 installments paid over 5 years, the THS transferred perpetual naming rights and other things, including the trademark, which, in the opinion of the counterparty, extends to any expansion that might occur to THS. That doesn't sound like a good deal. And in the modern context of asking the question of how does this service pay for its bills, something that I think came up maybe in January and February of last year, and my memory is not going to serve me well, but somewhere around $6 million, and there were some gaps in funding, and then there was some squeezing of the balloon to make all the numbers work out. It is disappointing to me to hear how the table has been set for any potential further discussions as we seek ways to level the balance the scales, so to speak. I guess this is an issue that exists. It impacts us, but it exists outside of HART in terms that we're not a party to it. We do have, and I don't fully understand the tentacles here, but the interlocal, and you said that would be the first thing that if we were to do anything, if the HART board were to decide, that might be it. But I do hope that there's a pathway that can be, through discussion, identified that restores, quite frankly, a more fair and equitable agreement going forward. So thank you for the research from that motion that was made by Commissioner Wastel. It is illustrative, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, I have one other question.
Yes, go ahead.
Is there another vendor that might be willing to step into TECO's role that we know of?
Not to my knowledge right now.
Okay.
I thought that was the reason why we were asking for the contract, to get the information so that we could pursue other opportunities to net some additional dollars.
Apparently, we don't really know of anyone in particular who might be willing to step into that role at the moment. Yeah.
Even if we
Yeah, no, I agree.
did.
Yeah.
we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I think my comments or questions have already been said. I was quite taken aback based on the contract and the position, that there was no further discussion or likely discussion to review or take a look at what could happen potentially. And I just hope that maybe we could have some more discussion about it. And I think this will be good to bring to the board to make sure they are aware of what your findings are. Director Schistler?
Yeah, Mr. Drenville, what's the plan of bringing this back to the board? The reason I ask that is, it might not be a bad idea to have some of the parties that were involved in this, like President English, to come to address the board, because otherwise we're just doing this. And he could bring some insight to us from 25 years ago as to what the thought process was and potentially what we can do about it.
Yeah, so the plan would be to bring it to the April board, not the
Okay.
March board.
Okay.
And then I can request President English to be here.
I think you should.
And I believe Board Member Mechanic was part of that also, so.
Yeah. Okay. Good job, Brenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Good work. I think that the last comment I want to make about this is that what you did is probably something we need to look at when we have other contracts or things that are happening. You guys are very, very good at, taking a look at things on a regular basis. But, I mean, that was very good insight and something to bring back to the board on a regular basis when we have contracts or things of that nature. I don't think we have much more that's extensive as what we just heard. We appreciate it, and thank you again. Moving on to old business. New business. Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.